I think it's already, what about the AI companion?
Is there like a whole setup?
Yeah, they call it a diary.
The AI companion?
Ally is what they termed it.
Hold on.
It's just like
Want that,
there's
or-
a place where you can
Yes.
hang out while you're waiting to get certified. And I was the last.
You know about it?
And it was.
I don't know if it's
I didn't
necessary.
care, but it was like,
In future meetings, we'll be attaching a Fathom note taker.
I used to see
Yeah,
kids over there.
well, and I've got pencil and paper too, at least to capture some things.
Yeah, we're good.
Like, at least I can see you.
Okay.
I thought it was a good thing, you know, when they tear off
All
your
right,
mask.
Okay.
we're live.
Okay, we are live here. Welcome, swimmers. Thank you for signing up.
From behind where you have to find.
This, Kevin, this is going to be a experience that the likes of nobody around has ever seen before. The media thinks we're doing a polar plunge. I am Nick Tamble. I'm the race director along with co-organizers here, specifically Seth Batesold with the other blue shirt. We are here to update swimmers with everything that you need to know because we understand that information has not been forthcoming as much as a lot of us who race are used to. Reason being, this was not even an idea before 14 weeks ago. So I'll let Seth speak to some of that, but just know that you're looking at 4 of the original 5 members of the initial steering committee that have been meeting since November 14th only. So between then and now, we've had mostly weekly Zooms on Thursdays, primarily with us starting, and then we added on another 6, 7, 8 people. So there's probably upwards of 12 to 14 people at the steering committee level for this event. We're expecting upwards of 90 volunteers. And so it'll be almost a 1-to-1 ratio with swimmers and volunteers, which is by design. So just a little bit more background. This idea came about on a swim with Seth Batesold in California during his Catalina crossing, where I was on the boat along with 9 other volunteers. It's a huge orchestration, this marathon swimming stuff. And so he swam from Catalina Island all the way back. Mike Miller to my direct left has done the same swim. So that's the caliber of people at this steering committee level. We're all experienced, swimmers primarily, especially cold water swimmers. Just last November on our second group dip day in November, I think it was 10th, Mike, I recorded him, it's on my YouTube channel. He was in swimming for 15 minutes and it was in probably low 40s. So we have a lot of experience with that in mind. We live in Minnesota here. Thank you for whoever is traveling. I've talked with several of you. It's just a matter of time before this, really next year is where a lot of us are thinking about. People have been jumping on when they find out about it. So we have some very high profile swimmers coming. Yes, Cody Miller was the first one who recognized this opportunity. And then there's several others that Seth will speak on. I will speak to a little bit of organizational type stuff, higher end stuff that have been perspiring the last few days here. If you have heard of a guy named Ram Barkai and Joe Zamaitis, those 2 guys are heads of International Ice Swimming Association, World and US. So there was a few of us on a Zoom call with these guys. Ram lives in South Africa and takes people on Zodiacs to swim along glaciers in Antarctica. And their low distance is a kilometer, so they do kilometer and longer. So you can imagine the information we gleaned from those guys, and they gave us 2.5 hours. So there's a lot of things in store. We won't get too granular, but with that, we're super excited about this event. I'm going to turn it over to Seth. He'll kind of like guide this particular part with the swimmers. He's much more experienced on this level than I. Seth is a marathoner. He has 20 swims or so on the long distance database, 7 marathons this year. I was on the boat for 3 of them. So I've been following and swimming with Seth for a couple years now. And this was his idea that was born on his Catalina crossing swim, like I was saying. Keep in mind, I'm repeating myself a lot because I'm not sure who I'm telling stuff. There's a lot of newness going on, and hopefully after this meeting tonight, there's really not much left this week. So, Seth Batesold.
Hello, everyone. 2 years ago, I did a swim like this out in Vermont, the 25 and the 50. After coming back, I told Nick that it'd be awesome if we did this event here. And Nick and I dreamed this event up at absolutely last minute. But we still have all the safety protocol in place and all the procedures to get this to be a smooth running event that we hope to be running in perpetuity for the following years. And you're all on this because you're a swimmer, competitor, and I'd just like to give a few tips for this. You can share Greg's tips that is shared to everyone on the Vermont swim, but I summarize it up. But this shouldn't be your first time in cold water. You should have try cold showers, ice dipping, cold baths. We don't necessarily require this to be, but it'd be great for this event if you had experience. I don't expect anyone to have done an ice mile, nor to have competed in the Vermont competition. There's very few opportunities for those, but you should be aware with cold water as there's a huge shock when you jump in and enter the water. I don't want that to be anyone's first experience here. The next point is make sure you're aware of your health. Anything such as heart attacks, strokes, seizures, or having diabetes aren't necessarily helped with this. So consider even consulting with the doctor if that is of any concern, especially if you're older. Or after that, for signing up, make sure to bring clothing that is appropriate for this. Ideally, you can bring clothes that can be stripped off pretty quickly. A parka jacket is really useful. Zippers are nice, buttons are tougher. But when you come, you can plan to either come in your swimsuit or you can change here. But please plan that out as you'll be escorted to the swimming pool, to the ice cutout. We'll have an escort watching you the whole way, and then you can take all of your clothes off, make sure it's easy to remove. And then you put it in a basket, you'll get in, swim your event, and then get out, and your escort can either put some stuff back on, just ask them, and then you'll go to the rewarming tent. And then take as much time as you want, but if you have any concerns with yourself or if you see with anyone else, make sure to take your time and just voice those concerns. And when rewarming, make sure that you don't rewarm too quickly or expose yourself to any too hot of surfaces. One of the biggest concerns that we have there is you have warm and cold, you get shocked with your body. So lukewarm water or anything that is just normally warm, not too hot. As for other clothing, tennis shoes with shoelaces will be very tough to tie. I recommend Crocs or slippers or anything that you can easily get on that is slip proof. One of the biggest concerns is slipping. We do have turf that Nick is going to put up everywhere, so slipping is going to be a low risk, but just having some sort of footwear that you can wear. Also, separate outfits if you want to come in, and then if you want to change to an outfit or change out when you're done swimming, that would be excellent. Avoid clothing that is, when it gets wet, is damp like cotton. So dry fit, dry wicking clothing is excellent. If you choose to do multiple events, make sure that you have multiple swimsuits. In theory, you could rewarm your first swimsuit up, but that is very unlikely to happen. So if you go in for your first event and you come out, you're going to take it off and it's probably cold, crusty, and hard. It's good to put on your next suit whenever you have a time to do your second event. If you do 3 events, have 3 swimsuits. This one, for the cold swimming events, there generally is no warm-up or pre-swim. So generally, you can choose whatever you want to do, but people generally do not sit in the ice hole or for this ice pool. We don't really have a warm-up session or be a cool-down session to prepare yourself. Thus, your first event will be the first time you're entering the water for the day. And then take your time rewarming up, listen to your body, make sure you don't slip, make sure not to run into anything, and be careful when you're walking. And then be aware of your surroundings when walking around. And then have a plan to stay dry. It's good to dry off as quickly as possible when you do get out of the water. So if anyone wants those tips or items, we can share those at the end of the meeting. We have a couple of forms. If you also have any questions, please ask at the end. But as I was saying, the 25-meter non-competitive will be an event where you can walk the entire way. You should be able to stand. It is 5 feet on the deep end and closer to 3 feet on the other end. As for the 25 competitive, 50 and 100, you don't have to put your head in the water, but it can be for if you want to swim faster. So you can swim that however you want, according to rules. Make sure try not to hit the sides of the pool as there are sharp edges. And when you're signing up for events, it does get exponentially tougher from the 25 to the 50 and then to the 100. It's double the distance, and then being in the water for that certain amount of time just gets even tougher. Ideally, you will have gone to the ice hole a couple times and spent a few minutes. If you spend in the ice hole 3, 5, 7 minutes, that should be good for swimming at 25, 50, or 100. However, it may be that you have never put your face in the water. So
Not that you have to do that the day of the swim. We're speaking of people, we're part of a large ice dipping community. A lot of the people are swimming here, and we're accustomed to going in an ice hole and spending 2 minutes to 20 minutes in the ice water. So that's a lot of the people that are doing this swim. We know that they are capable of this. That's why we're not super stringent about letting people in. Maybe you tell a little bit about how Phil does things in Vermont as far as stipulations on distances.
Yeah.
Because there might be a couple people who think 100 is nothing. But 100 in this water is not 4 times as hard as a 25.
Yeah, that's exponentially.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and another thing is make sure that don't do any alcohol or drugs. I know that's common sense before, leave that for after. But yeah, for the 25, 50, and 100, when you get in, no flip turns. Try not to submerge yourself the entire time. When you get to the other end, if you are going again, touch the bulkhead or the wooden platform, and then you can push off. Take your time, go as fast as however you want. And if you do feel you need to get out, there is no shame in that. Better to get out than to not. But as for the 25, that can take people usually under a minute. 50 can take a little over a minute for some of the slower people. And then for the 100, that can take 2 or even 3 minutes for some individuals. And that one will be further vetted for people who have a significant amount of experience. Thus, if you have any concerns, you can always go to the ice hole and go in, especially with a buddy, and go in for a couple of minutes just to see how that feels. That is the best preparing experience that you can have by spending multiple minutes in there. Anything else, Nick?
So with swimmers, the format that worked, I guess, for the volunteer meeting is that we did pretty much a half an hour of informational things. There's certainly probably 6 hours of material that we could share. But the idea is that we do something here to answer primarily all of your questions, and I don't see a shame in maybe giving, Mike Kolsky and Miller a couple things to say for the next 10 minutes or so. And then primarily, we've been pushing out a lot of details, primarily myself, to a couple different social media outlets. So the MNI Swim page on Facebook, I think it's MNI Swim Event. And then the website, we will continue to populate leading up to this. But for those of you who are on here, that's a smart move to get your questions answered if you didn't have them already. Most of you who are familiar with the ice water know that you can show up, I guess it's kind of maybe some logistics and timing things on the people that have really want to swim, but they need to leave early. So we have leniency. You're looking at the people who are making the decisions on swimmers on the day of. So our last chance to vet and look somebody in the face and go, have you ever swam in cold water? You want to do 100 and you've only been in water that's been 60. We're going to probably have you start with a 25. So Seth and I had talked about this. This is very serious business. So essentially there'll be people in front of me, including Doobie and probably 10 other pairs of eyes that will make this call before I have to. If Mike Miller sees that somebody needs to get out of the pool or is done or can't go, these guys know they're not going to let you do it. So safety is number one. We're not going to let one person who thought they could go swim a 50 in ice cold water make this, ruin this for everybody. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah, just to start, you'll come in around, we'll have a time that you come in around 10 or 11 where you check in. We'll give you a goodie bag. After that, you can continue with however you want, but we will have an order of events for everyone. You can know what time you are swimming, and then you can plan accordingly. We can have changing tents to change into the swimsuit, and then we will,
Yes, the map.
yes, please.
Okay.
And then, wait till she pulls it aside.
I can probably
Oh,
go through
sorry,
it.
one
Do you want to
second,
go
one
through it
second.
again, Z, or do you want me to whip through it?
No. 1 second. You should go through it.
Yeah, I just hit the mouse.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, this is really important here, okay? So here is Lake Johanna Boulevard. Can we eliminate this?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
1 second, folks. Let's put this down here.
Thanks. Well, before I go, Z Warhammer, the person who just handed me the mouse, is gonna be acting as volunteer coordinator, virtually the most important job on race day. She's also helping with some media things, so just to introduce that person at this second, she will be wearing a name tag that day. So Lake Johanna Boulevard right here, this goes all the way over to Snelling, and that is your south access to Highway 36. So people that are around here are familiar, will be very thorough with people that are helping people come in and out with cars. This is an immediate, this is the most popular parking lot. Primarily, we're still kind of determining who is gonna be able to park in this one. There'll be parking people here, here. This is across the street, we'll have access to here. So think of like 200 spots here, 130 spots here, another 70 spots here, parking wise. So that's about 330, I guess. Overflow, parking wise, again, you can access the lake right here if you feel comfortable parking on ice. We have 21 inches. I've been on here with my 3/4 ton pickup in a plow truck for a month. And right in this area where my cursor is, there is a parking lot that can hold about 200 to 300 cars. Okay, so if you're comfortable, park there, that's the closest. If you're not, going a lot, overflow, you know, we're trying to be as prepared as we can for parking. At this point, knowing that on a regular ice dip day in our plunge hole, which is right here, we're getting 200 to 300 people just on every Sunday. So I'm thinking somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 maybe, total people. It's really hard to say. If the media catches wind of this in the next few days and pushes it out, that's gonna really amp up spectators. But like, you know, we're joking right now is I think a lot of media thinks we're doing a polar plunge. It's not a polar plunge. We polar plunge in here every day of the winter. Every day somebody's going in there. And then we're gonna be putting the ice pool directly adjacent to that. Okay? So we'll have, I'll go back and forth between these two images, but right here we'll have artificial turf going across the beach onto the lake, right where the pool is. So right here, maybe this is easier over here. Between here, the idea is to have artificial turf covering that entire space, have a 8x16 fish house as our office, and then have a 10x10 station for the MC on Ice, Doobie Kuros, for taking swimmers from the swimmer tent to the ice pool. Okay, so this is your swimmer tent. Swimmers only, support only. Spectators do not get to go in here, nor here. This is volunteer headquarters. So this is Z Warhammer's domain. Whatever she says with volunteers goes. That will never have to come back to me.
And then we'll have you registration in the volunteer pavilion as well.
Registration, as soon as registration is done, this will convert primarily to volunteer only. Keep in mind, we are enclosing a pavilion. It does not have an organic heat source. We are providing heat sources for all of this stuff. That will be heated. The swimmer tent will be heated. These orange are just an example of fire rings to get ambient heat for spectators especially. These blue dots are representing like portable fish houses. So as soon as you walk out here, and keep in mind, we just posted a YouTube video that has a lot of this that Seth dictated. So it's long, but you can filter through it. It has a lot of information. It's 22 minutes. It's also on my YouTube channel, Nick Tamble. So one by one, you will be escorted from a personal attendant. One person will be your support. Get you to one of these two slots. There'll be ladders on all four corners of the ice pool to get in and out from. That'll be adjacent to the pool, so you won't have steps intersecting your pool space, that will be out here. So when you get in the bottom of your step, you're in your pool lane, okay? We're gonna have one pool divider down the middle. We are screwing pool noodles to the fringe of both of the outside edges. If you're disorientated and you take a stroke like this, hard like Seth swims, you're gonna bruise your arm if you hit it on ice, so we're trying to eliminate some of that. Plus, we got Cody Miller, so we're incorporating a lot more red, white, and blue. Okay, so you're swimming, hopefully you get out, you come here, we got 2 immediate tents for you to change in and out of. You ain't lingering in those 2. We got a couple more here you can linger in. Okay, the idea is to warm up slowly. You do not want to go right from the pool into a sauna. Before your swim, you should not go in the sauna. Okay, you want to go in from your ambient air to the pool. This happens a lot when people dip. They will think that they're doing themselves a better favor by going in the sauna first before they go in the dip hole. That's not correct because your ambient temperature is different now. Your body temperature is a lot hotter, so when you go in the cold water, there's a constriction of vesselation, and it's very granular that we won't get into, but don't go in the sauna, do that after. Okay, there will be a sauna here for swimmers out here that should be able to seat 20 plus people in the hot room only. Okay, so that's yours as swimmers. Volunteers can pop in the saunas as they want. Otherwise, there will be 30 slots for spectators to rent per 30-minute session. So we've been doing that November 3rd all the way through April. We have saunas parked in this parking lot. People come, dip hole, sauna, dip hole, sauna. Today, the last time I looked, we had 120 sauna sessions just today. And today weather sucked. It was windy and cold. But we regularly get a large crowd here. 3 weeks ago, there was about 300 just on a regular Sunday just for this dip hole. There's a huge snow mound here for kids. We're gonna try to incorporate some fun things for the kids and families, ice bowling, ice maze. When we cut this pool out, we're gonna end up with 680 linear feet of ice blocks, 2 by 2. Okay, that's a lot, right? So we have a lot of ice that we can do some fun things with next year. But for right now, according to the Water Patrol's request, this area right in here is all plowed, and that's where we're gonna play with the ice blocks. Because when we're done, they want those blocks out of the way so that when somebody's driving around here on a snowmobile, they don't run into it and kill themselves. Because if you run into an ice block like this that's cemented in, it will wreck your car, I promise. Bonfire, we'll see if we do something big at the end. We'll be prepared to do all these extras. If people are hanging around after the award ceremony at 5, and we'll get into the schedule in a minute, and I'll answer your questions. We're prepared to have an event from 10 a.m. past dark. So there'll be a luminary thing after the award ceremony for people to hang out in the lake. Is Liz still here?
No, she had to bounce.
Liz Johnson has been an integral part of this swim race. Her and her friends around Lake Johanna have already made 500 ice luminaries just with her and her friends. So there's going to be a huge evening walk. There's a 2.5 mile walk around the lake for if you want to bring hex heads on the bottom of your shoes and run, walk your dog. That activity will build, but primarily this is a race that's designated for swimmers who are also serious about this. I'll just touch a little bit on some communications that we've had recently that are notable, especially for your swimmers who do this with intention. 4 days ago, there was a handful of us on a Zoom call with Ram Barkai and Joe Zamaitis. If you don't know who they are and you care, look them up on Google. They're about the 2 biggest guys in the ice swimming scene in the world. So we had a 2.5 hour Zoom call with these guys. Ram was in South Africa, Joe's in Arizona. And they helped us with a lot of information. So that's what we're leaning on. Ram founded International Ice Swimming Association, and Joe Zamaitis is his U.S. counterpart. So we are already, and this is all talk, I'm trying to be respectful of their organization, but there's some synergies here that could make this a global event right here in Minnesota. So Mike Kolsky on the far left of me is already in the talks with these two guys about becoming an ambassador of sorts for the Midwestern United States. And pie in the sky that is quite realistic is for us to potentially host ice swimming world championships here as early as 2031. So with this said, a lot of us are already starting to plan for 2026. I don't want to get the cart too much before the horse, but with racing, people put out race dates early, so pencil in February 21st, 2026 for next year. The idea is that I'm going to request from Ramsey County that we have an ice hole open for an entire month. So February 1st to the 28th or whatever next year, we maintain an ice hole the entire month. And we've already talked about having, an arrangement for multiple lanes, six or 8 lanes. So just know that there's a lot going on in the background. We're making this happen as quickly and safely as possible. And I'll just turn over to Mike Miller to my left for a couple minutes, and he can pass it to Kolsky.
I understand that today there's the 100th swimmer that signed up. We really appreciate the confidence you have in us. There's been a dozen people here that have focused intently on this to make sure that it's a great day for all of you. It's very important to come well rested, and we will make sure we do our best to keep you warm before, not during, because you'll be heat letting in the lake, but afterwards as well. So every step along the way, we've thought about how to improve the experience for you. And while you're swimming is the moment of truth with your experience with how your body responds to cold water shock. Many of you come from the ice dipping community and are wild swimmers, and we welcome all of you, and it's a great combination of people from amateur to competitive, from short to longer distances. It seems to be an equal blending of that. And there's a real special camaraderie that happens when you experience an event like this, and it's rare to have that in an indoor environment. I don't mean to knock pools, but that's just a concrete box. Here you're experiencing nature and doing it with a bunch of like-minded folk, and we want it to be an unforgettable yet safe experience for all of you. I believe there's 5 hormones your body releases naturally from exposure to cold water. The protocol is in place with no diving, no flip turns for an experience like this if you're swimming more than 25 meters. And we just find that fortunately with the weather forecast as it is, the polar vortex will be a distant memory by then. And we're just thrilled with how everything is lining up. Again, we want you to come comfortable, hydrated. It's not necessary to come in your wetsuit. We'll have some basic arrangements to allow you to be comfortable so that you don't get overly warm before your swim. And we want it to be as close to the normal routine for your body as you normally do when you enjoy your cold water in whichever format that you take it. So we want this clear. We clearly want you to have a memorable experience, and we look forward to the questions that you have, and even through to the moment you get in, we can tell you our experiences and give our best advice to help you through this process. I'll pass it over to Mike.
I fully agree with what Mike Miller had to say. This is a great opportunity to swim in nature, great opportunity to do tough, difficult things, great opportunity to be part of a community. I guess a couple of pointers for the first time swimmers, particularly people who have transitioned from cold water dipping, where we often wear neoprene booties and neoprene gloves, keep our hands warm and dry. Couple of pointers. One is it will be uncomfortable on your fingers and toes. There's no way around that. Your fingers and toes are gonna hurt. After you get out, we're gonna have tubs of warm water, not hot water, not shocking water, just lukewarm warm water for you to help rewarm those fingers and toes gently but quickly. Another pointer, I think, is all of us, even experienced dippers, experienced cold water swimmers, we have this instinct to gasp when we first get in the water, especially when our face gets in the water. One thing that can slightly lessen that is when your race is being staged, get in up to your neck, get your body submerged, adjust to that. Then when you start swimming and your face goes under, it's not such an all-at-once shock. So body wet and cold first, face second. I think that'll help. We're really looking forward to the event next Saturday. Really looking forward to meeting you.
Keep in mind the water is not 32 degrees. It's, if it helps psychologically, we measured it recently, 3 feet below the surface, it's actually 39. So you already get a 7-degree advantage. So keep that in mind.
I'll touch on just a couple swimmers who have been raising their hands to come here. I mentioned Cody Miller. We all know he's coming. That was awesome to have him jump on board right away. He's pushing it out to his social media for 3 weeks now. He has reach of about 400,000 or so. So it's awesome to have him. We have another person, Lady Merle Vineland. I don't know if she's on. She's a pretty busy woman. She lives in Miami. She has 10 Guinness Book World Records. She's bringing a monofin and going for her 11th Guinness Book record to try to do 100 with a monofin. We have a guy named Karu Halleck who was at Italy ice swimming world championships last year in Italy. He came second out of the 200 in his age group. He's in the 50-55 age group. Ivan Pancic is somebody that I've known from, I might have doctored his last name. But anyways, I've known him for a couple of years now through the triathlon circles. He's a madman too. He's done 300 triathlons. When he does his halves, when he does his 73s, he does them barefoot. So he's a nut, just like the rest of us. And so he'll be swimming with Cody on the 50. JB Landa's coming from Maine. She's actually, she heard about this right away. She's a 6-time ice miler. I talked with her a couple weeks ago. She's flying back into Portland on Thursday, and then she's packing her crap up and hopping in a car and driving here because she was worried about running into issue with airlines. I don't know if she's on here or not, but so JB is, she's very well known marathoner in her circles. Again, legendary. We have a lot of world-class people here, Seth, and the people that I'm sitting with are in that class as well. We just may not perceive it because we're in Minnesota and we're kind of in our own little bubble here, but Mike Kolsky is an unofficial ice miler. You'll learn about more and more about Seth. Mike Miller to my left is a very experienced guy. Casey McGrath is also part of the top 5. He was in the 50-mile Lake Superior relay team last year. Mike Miller was
And wet.
Well, he was also part of the 50-mile relay.
Exactly.
So was Mike. That's how I met Mike Miller. Seth was on the 50-mile relay. I drove up there when they came ashore. You guys came ashore at like 7. So anyways, I drove up for that. We're in good company with a lot of great swimmers. It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. When you step into this ice cold water, we are all the same, okay? So there's 2 rules that we follow in the ice hole. Never go alone, you always go with a buddy, and shut the door. So you're gonna learn some of these things with the swim on what you really wanna pay attention for. Just know that try to stay calm as much as possible with your breathing. When you get in here, when you step into that ice pool, if you haven't been in the ice dip hole, you're gonna lose your breath. Get control of that for a moment. Gather your thoughts and then go like hell and get across. The difference between competitive and amateur. Competitive, follow IISA rules. Okay, we're gonna be doing a lot of this stuff with respect to IISA rules now. Even though we won't have any necessarily ratified swims, we're gonna do it as if we will or are. So cap, 1, neoprene or latex goggles, swimsuit not past the knee or shoulders, no neoprene or flotation, that's competitive. If you have a shred of neoprene on, you are not competitive. So my coach is Brent Hayden. I asked him to come down. He's afraid of cold water. If he tried to do it in wetsuit, he'd have to be amateur. Okay, so like that. If
And
you,
and it's okay to be amateur.
For sure.
It's still a great experience, and it's just the distinction between the two that's important to know for people participating. We'll have some booties, and I have a couple extra neoprene caps, depending on how a person feels about the day and themselves. I think we'll have some apparel that if you want to make use of, to borrow, maybe you don't have it, we can talk about that. You can ask for that the first hour of the event as we go through briefings. We can make those things available to you so that you can have an enjoyable experience for the event. It's also for longer distances, if it's more than 25, having earplugs is helpful, clearly. Even diaper rash cream is also a skin protectant. I think if you're concerned about wind chill or something like that, we'll have that available too for you. And some of the previous questions,
you wanna start hammering out some of these questions?
yeah, there was.
This is the first one. Did we answer that?
I'll just,
The S when we're cutting the hole is one up that's up there.
I know.
Amateur can use wetsuits, correct? Yes. Do you think if you don't have a wetsuit, you could wear neoprene booties and gloves instead? You can be head to toe in neoprene. You can have a pool noodle. I don't care. No, it doesn't matter what you wear in amateur within reason, right? So if we see somebody doing something crazy like wearing like cement boots, no, you're not going to do it.
at the end of the pool, you'll be standing on a sandy lake bottom. There won't be a platform that you'd need to stand on. So you'll be able to Mike Kay's comments here, it'll make it easier for you to immerse 90% to get acclimated. And we were out commissioning one of the first of the 4 bulkheads, the vertical bulkheads. We're using a 4-foot square sheet of plywood for the vertical bulkhead. So that way we can get an accurate 25-meter distance for this pool and avoid having ice at the end of if you're doing a 50 or longer distance, your turns will be pushing off of a 3/4 inch plywood bulkhead.
How do you do that, Z?
Steady, yeah.
So, can you hold that there a little closer? So in the foreground right here, that is the action that they were doing yesterday to insert that wooden thing vertically in the ice as your push off. So as you can see the dip hole in the background, so the pool is gonna go from those cones towards the dip hole. So you can see those ice blocks that were pulled yesterday. That's 21 inches thick of ice. Those are heavy.
And since it's freestyle, you can choose to do a modified breaststroke and keep your face out of the water. And for the non-competitive, for the amateur division, other venues, well, Vermont in particular, they'll just make it into a hat competition. So you can mix it up and make for interesting photos and entertain the crowd, if you will. Also on that point, with the fact that it's freestyle, there will be backstroke flags at the ends of the pool, so you have some visual warning if your face isn't face down in the water of the end of the, so 5 meters before the end of the pool will be flags as a visual cue for you. I don't know if there's any other questions that were going on the chat that.
There's a question, is it approved to push off of the bulkhead or
let's do
an
questions
easier
first.
turn back for folks who are doing
It's-
longer distance?
Turns are to be open face. The flip turns are not permitted because of and that's ISA rules, International Ice Association, Ice Swim Association, where it's possible on longer distances that people lose their sense of direction and get disoriented. So it's always important, as a result, no flip turns, no long push-offs below the water surface. And on that point of safety, maybe this is going to be a whole new experience for you. I'm sure for many of you it will be. But just keep in mind that you're going to have 4 individuals right out poolside at the very minimum that are there to attend to you. One is the attendant that Seth mentioned about at the beginning. Another will be the timer. They'll be watching you, of course. There'll be what's known as a puller, somebody walking along each lane on the side of the pool with a safety hook, a shepherd's hook, goes by many names, but just a way to provide assistance if you find that you need to get out. There'll also be an observer as well, watching your experience. But the one to focus on, and the one that's really unique for this aspect, is the fact that you're going to have someone that has a clothes basket. It won't be enjoyable to start those first few seconds or tens of seconds, but you'll have someone bringing your clothing and helping you immediately after you exit the water. We will focus on having lukewarm water available that quickly, at least from my experience, quickly brings back the sensation in my toes and fingers. Foot baths and for your hands and feet to help with that, and as well as the gentle rewarming afterwards through multiple sources of sauna or multiple reasons that are described here.
I just wanted to touch on that.
sorry.
Mike said something that reminded me, as far as like your assistant, that's like the favorite job that everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to walk you guys to the pool, right? So they just want to see you shiver. When you get out, this is gonna be like huge spectator central, primarily on this side. Most of this is gonna be volunteer and people helping run the show through here, pulling people that are going through these tents that are warming up down and through this backside, okay? So if you have somebody with you that you are more comfortable with and they are okay as your aide, we may allow that through here. There will be a designated person in the swimmer tent named Laura Lee Paisley who runs Duluth Coldwater Dolphins, which is a 1,500 member ice dipping community up in Duluth. Okay, so me and her, arm in arm, we know each other well. She's gonna be the person delivering swimmers to Doobie at the pool. So Doobie's gonna go, okay, Laura Lee, we're ready for the next 6. You'll walk out here, and if you have somebody that you'd rather have help you with your clothes, this is where that will happen. So your person will walk alongside of a Sherpa. Even if you're gonna walk with your person or see them through here, we're gonna have our person there doing that too. So you can go and help them change and move and maneuver that way. So I just wanted to touch base with it. You don't have to have a stranger helping you change if you don't want to, okay? But there will be privacy in these tents. Let's go back to the questions.
There was a question, is the bulkhead strong enough to push off of?
Yes,
Or
it
should
will be.
folk, okay.
Bulkhead stable, for sure, we'll have multiple ways to stabilize that. One more thing on the swimmer, if somebody gets in trouble. Now, because we have a very, a large ice dipping community at Johanna, we don't have a problem having several people capable of sliding into the water and physically assisting somebody rather than trying to grab their belt and finagle them out. So we should be able to do this gracefully. I think it's inevitable that we're gonna have some swimmers turn that wall and the 25 coming to the end of their 50, they're not gonna finish. It might happen at the 100, or who knows, if somebody might jump in on the 25 and make it 5 feet and turn around and say, nope, I've already had a person in the 25 pass up on her ticket. Okay, so it's okay. DNFs happen, DNSs happen, so just don't, you're towing the line, that's a huge step. And racers, it takes a lot to get to the starting line too. So If it doesn't work out for you this year, there'll be another year too. There's an ice hole that people will be able to plunge in. If you are local and you're, thinking you can make it to Johanna, come plunge in the hole a couple days ahead of time. Okay? A little touching on the ice hole cutting. Thursday is the goal date. By end of day Thursday, we'll have it cut. If we have it cut, there might be a couple things that our steering committee will do, maybe a couple photo ops of us all going down the pool, breaststroke or something. We're gonna iron some of that or bring up some of these new ideas this coming week. But keep in mind, one of these things we can do that might not be too difficult is go for the world record for how many people cannonball in ice water. So we do cannonballs, if you've seen some videos on our dip page. We want to be safe, so that may or may not happen, but do you recommend breaststroke to keep your head out? If you're asking, then probably yes for you. We will, what is a very late thing coming in the game after our talk with Ram and Joe is we are putting up backstroke flags. So we will entertain backstroke, even though we said that wasn't initially a permitted swim because we're concerned about people misdirecting themselves, but we will have flags. We'll have people at the end of the pool making sure you don't hit your head. So free stroke means any stroke, like Mike said, you can do back. We're gonna have a special race that is gonna be a 4x25 that I talked with people just, I think last night. 4x25, we don't know where it's gonna fit yet, but Seth is gonna start with the fly. Ivan is gonna do back, Cody's gonna do breast, and Casey McGrath is gonna do free. If there's competition and they keep time on that, that could very well easily stand as the fastest 4x25 cold water IM ever. I would put money on that. What else?
Underwater's allowed.
So to the,
When will the hole be cut? Yeah, Thursday. The reason why we're doing it Thursday is we're leaving Friday as an emergency day. If we blow an engine on my ice sled saw, we have a backup because Liz Johnson's husband has an ice sled saw. We'll have chainsaws, we'll have ice saws. That hole's gonna be cut if we have to dig it out with spoons.
So our underwater's allowed.
Reserve hole, underwaters,
you can push off the bulkhead, but no underwater no underwater butterfly kick. I think in Vermont, they penalize you 5 seconds for submerging off the turn.
those rules will be made known and crystal clear on event day. Since you are expecting, will they reserve parking for swimmers? Again, if you are comfortable, the best place to park will be on the ice. We will have people there and make sure that we're not parking like cordwood. There'll be space between cars. We will do it as safe as possible. Everybody knows that there's no such thing as safe ice. So if you're not comfortable, yes, swimmers will be in one of the parking lots on the park. We'll make some designations for that this coming week. So obviously we want people that are swimming to have first priority of being as close to the event as possible. What's
Another
next?
question, will you send a schedule of races? Do you want me to share it, the schedule?
Sure, pop it up. Okay.
Had special requests.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the race roster. So us racers are familiar with this. It's being posted at the last second. I just finished it last night at midnight. So what I did here is we have approximately 16 featured races with the people that I were mentioning earlier. If you're interested, or if I've overpassed you, believe me, I'm not trying to segregate people unnecessarily or with you're better than this person. No, we're not doing that. I'm just making note on some notable people. I'm sure there's more here. Thank you for being part of it. We can adjust some heats as it goes. In my mind, we want to make people that are similar swimming abilities. We don't want to do 25 amateur and have one person cross in 25 seconds and the other person takes 2 minutes. So because we didn't take a lot of this pertinent information right away, we don't necessarily even know certain people's ages. So on the day, we can do some of this on the fly. We'll have a lot of volunteers. We will help position that for people. So 25 We're gonna do it generally in sequence from 25 amateur, 25 competitive, 50, then 100. People that need to leave soon, make it known. We will have you go earlier, no problem. I've already promised that to a handful of people. If you're time specific, like David Cameron, he's another notable guy. You know, there's a lot of notables. David Cameron's been a humongous person in this local swim scene. He has crossed English Channel twice. Okay, so there he is. He's swimming all three. He's got to leave early, so we'll make sure he does his 100 early. So you can see these are the featured races, and then I basically filed anybody else that I didn't recognize. And, I know a lot of the people racing today are on Saturday, so if you have a special request, bring it up to, bring it up to one of us. You'll know who to talk to.
Is this roster that Z just showed, is that on the website currently?
Yes, so this is the website, so I'm sharing from the website. We've got both the schedule and this is the swimmers tab that we're looking at. So that top right, swimmers, if you click there, that's where it comes up with this roster and swimmer info.
I have not even seen this. Okay, I gave them the content last night at midnight. Okay, so there will be some adjustments. We didn't even add the 100 until 8 days ago. Okay, so again, this was perspired through some of this communication with Ram and Joe. They're giving us confidence to do some of these things and assurance. So yeah, so I had honorary Dave Corman. For those of you who know, he was a person in the ice dip community that committed suicide last year. So we do an honorary thing for him for ice dipping. So I threw that on there for the 4x25. Maybe we do a little fundraiser or something for a nonprofit. So that's something that we can do. Keep in mind, yeah, this is a new event. We're throwing a lot out there that we can. We'll see how it goes. Pricing, we're just throwing out numbers. We're going off of what Vermont's doing. There's going to be a lot of extras that are incorporated. You'll see, we're looking for a lot of good feedback from swimmers, what you think of the event afterwards to help us for 2026. Food trucks, yes, 3 of them with hot chocolate.
We've got 4 now.
4 volunteers, volunteers will be treated right, yes. Swimmers, there'll be food trucks.
Merch tent.
We'll have warm stuff. Merch tent, yes, this was this perspired basically in the last 3 days. I still have 1 day to bring stuff to a printer who has basically blocked out her calendar for the entire week to print my stuff. So we're getting things on the daily from Amazon. And merch, we're gonna have a 10x20 merch tent. Sweatshirts, mugs, whatever we could muster in 3 weeks will be there.
For people concerned about trying to get photographs and videos, we're going to try to capture on your swim record sheet where we write down what your swim time is, regardless of whether or not it's competitive or amateur. We're going to try to enter on there the time that you actually started your swim, and that could be cross-referenced to any photographs that are taken. So we'll do our best to allow you to have access to photos of your event.
That's a good topic media-wise. So right now, Z, who is volunteer coordinator, is also acting as that person that's hubbing media. So the intention now is to have more than we need just in case. So we're gonna end up live streaming this either on my YouTube channel or something so that we can capture the entire thing start to finish. So a static camera somewhere, 3 drone operators. We have 1 person designated to capture Cody's stuff for his social media that was agreed to with him. There'll probably be 5 separate videographers. There'll be a DJ. Like I said, Doobie and Laura Lee will both be on the microphone. We'll have the national anthem. Opening ceremony starting at right around 11. I think if we're fine to start swims at noon. Initial calculations for this were 24 swimmers per hour. That's 2 people every 5 minutes. So initially I was calculating 120 swims. We pulled that back to 100, call it sold out, so that we can hopefully be able to get most of our stuff done in 4 hours. We wanna kinda,
Schedule.
what?
Do you want me to share schedule up here?
No. At 5 o'clock, we're gonna try to hold that firm for award ceremony with respect to a couple timeframes. Lady Merle's gonna have to be gone by that time. Cody, we need to get him back to the airport by 6:45. So if we're hovering around 5 o'clock for award ceremony, this is gonna be a special award ceremony if everything gets shipped, okay? I'm not gonna disclose any of the secrets, but we're gonna have an awards table for sure.
Someone asked a question about if they could plunge prior to racing. I wouldn't encourage it on the race day, but if you're local or able to come out to the site the day before, that's always good to do. There's no need to register, that hole is open
There is an e-waiver that you should sign,
at Lake Johanna.
yes, according to for your permitting process.
So as far as waiver stuff goes, again, some people did. Our last chance to catch people with waivers is when you register. If you haven't signed a waiver, when you register, you will do it then. So that's the waiver thing. Are suspenders allowed to hold up a Speedo? In amateur, yes. What clarity of the water? You can see bottom. With swimming, I wouldn't count on it, but the water is decent clarity. I have not tested it recently.
Minimum depth is 3'3" on the corner closest to the shore, 3'3". That's for the lane, that's the near shore lane. The far shore lane has a depth of 4'4" or 4'6". So that's the range of depth. And I was playing around with my shovel just to verify that there's sand at the shallowest portion there. The water clarity is reasonably good. It's a nice lake. It's a special lake. It's really enjoyable there.
What time will amateur swim? As far as how we're sequencing these swims, again, we're gonna try to go amateur and then distance by length. Amateurs first. We will certainly have some featured swims to lead this off. Especially think of, we have a lot of volunteers that are also swimming. So if they have certain responsibilities that make sense that they finish sooner, we will do that. If you as a volunteer want to go in a specific time according to where your swim is that I did not notice, you just tell us. We'll put you in an earlier or later spot. With respect to people doing multiple swims, now Seth, can you speak on that, or did we already talk about that?
Multiple swims.
What do you wanna do if you're swimming more than one?
I've already said it, but I'll say it again. Multiple swimsuits.
Multiple swimsuits. When I was talking with Seth, I have not done this, but think of like maybe 10 minutes between or so. 25-50 for people that are acclimated, maybe it not be a huge concern, but just know that you're ready before you go in for the second one. And if you signed up for 100 and you've never done 100 before, we're gonna talk. These guys will talk with you. So Mike Miller, Mike Kolsky, and Seth will be like the 3-person vetting team when people get there. Oh, my excitement. Hell yeah, Rose. Where were you, Rose? I thought you were gonna reserve the sauna today. Rose Hallett is a person that's been a longstanding ice dipper who is really supportive of the sauna scene. Rose is one of my faves.
That's all our questions, unless folks.
Other questions? We're 3 minutes over on an hour, or 6 minutes over on an hour. No more questions? ASAP, please. I was there early. I didn't see you. I was out plowing. Hey, Rose, we gotta take a trip around the lake. See if we can beat my 406.
In-person questions?
Keep in mind for some of these longer distances, it's fine to get out before the end of the swim. You might see me do that with my 100 actually. It's not the end of the world. There's always another chance. So
Oh, we got a new message at the bottom.
Anything?
Click that red one. Oh, there we go.
I saw you. Oh, yeah. So anyways, we are super jazzed about this. I'm like walking on air every day right now. It's super awesome. I think the idea for our top 5 steering committee is that we do not hold any major responsibilities of that day. We would love for people to keep their eyes out for anything. You know, we're always looking at the extremes, right? So I'm planning to have an EMS on site with a defibrillator. We are very close to 2 fire stations. One is 1.5 miles to the west in New Brighton. One is 1.5 miles east off of the same road that Lake Johanna Boulevard is on. I have all these guys on speed dial. There's gonna be an officer that's gonna drive around early on Sunday, checking to make sure we got it going right. They're gonna be hovering around. I promise you guys, there's gonna be guys in fire trucks like a block away if we need them. So with respect to some things that might be unknown, crowd control is a concern. I already have people backed up that will be our initial muscle if we need to run into something and contain people before law enforcement comes. Again, hopefully nothing like that is even a thought, but we're prepared for it. EMS emergency-wise, we have been talking about that every single day virtually on how we're gonna move somebody if we have to that is in serious trouble. So that is, we went up and down that ladder many times. So the safety coordination involved right now, the heads of that will be my brother-in-law Henry Lozano and my sister Natalie Lozano, who have been an RN and a PT for more than 30 years. They know the scene, I know them, I can wink at them and we know each other. We know what, we have telepathy. So safety, huge. What else? When will you be letting us on your I'm sure you go in the schedule posted. Yeah, if you're swimming, keep a general rule, 1 hour before. If your heat, you should see where your heats are at. If you're not, we'll make sure that's known. Show up an hour before. If it's nice, come hang out. You should not get cold. It's supposed to be mid-20s. Wind's gonna be out of the north-northwest, which is the best for us. The lake is south, so a south-southeast wind is the worst. So we have an opposite wind, so we shouldn't feel it very much. The idea again is to have multiple heat sources strategically placed around here so you're not too far from one. 6 fire rings, saunas, heat lamps, portable fish houses. We'll have an inflatable hot tub to be utilized as needed next to the volunteer tent. So I don't think there's a lot that we haven't thought of yet.
And just make sure you're well hydrated. If you're not looking for the portable toilets, maybe you should be drinking more water and try not to deviate from your normal routine. Like I mentioned earlier, keep with that. Electrolytes are important as well. But I think many of you already, this all just comes as natural experience for you. And I get some sense seeing people coming out physically looking at the lake yesterday, or people on the WhatsApp groups and the dipping community taking off their gloves and doing their simulated swim in the ice holes. We salute you for your preparation that you're doing. You're not crazy, you're courageous. Don't ever let anybody say that you're crazy. It's this is, I think, a start of many more great experiences to come where we can come together and do this as a group instead of so much of this type of events with dipping and swimming, nature swimming, wild swimming, some call it. So much of it is solitary, and there's just this real special camaraderie that happens when you do it together. And it doesn't make any difference if it's your first time or if you're a seasoned professional, if you're just doing it for something brand new. It's all good, and we're thrilled that you're trusting us for this coming week.
Anything else, Mike Kolsky? Seth?
No, that's it.
Thank you all. We got 6 days until race day, so if you have questions, shoot them through social media. You have ways and means of accessing us. If you don't get it right away, try us again. Another person will get your questions answered as much as possible. Thank you for selling out. We are sold out. The first event, if you sell out the first one, we're always gonna sell out. Thank you, guys.